80 kilos at the US Open in the 17 and under division is going to be incredible. World team spot is on the line, and the field is stacked. And one of the reasons it's so stacked is that we got guys coming up from 160 pounds, and then this weight class is right in between 170 and 182. So we've got guys that are ranked in all three of those weight classes right now. So we're going to see some matches that we wouldn't have always seen. And remember that this is a bracket that we drew this up, but we don't know what the bracket's going to look like.
Yeah, tell me about the criteria, because isn't there like there's separation? There's not like a pure seeding process.
That's
tell me about that a little bit.
So the separation criteria, if you're a world medalist, you're in level 1. We don't have any of those here in this field. But if you've made the finals of this event or of the Fargo, if you made the Fargo finals, you're level 2. We got 5 of those guys in this bracket. So Gabe Arnold up here, Zach Ryder over there, Luke Venadia down here, Connor Mirasola right here, and then Dashiell Lamer, all are level 2. So they're going to be separated in some way. We don't know if it's going to be Arnold up here. It could be any one of them up here. They don't seed it. They just separate those guys. Then the next guy is level 5. These are guys who have placed in Fargo, freestyle side of things. Aiden Sinclair on the board. Jared Schopp is on the board. And then we have so many guys. We had to make a black box because there's too many guys. Justin Rademacher, Lars Michelson, Jed Wester, Peyton Westfall, all fall into that criteria number 5. And then we got some level 6 guys. But another guy that we have that we didn't put in our bracket because we know he's not going to be officially separated or seeded is Jude Correa. This is a boogeyman because he could end up anywhere in the bracket. He could, he could get drawn in and hit somebody really good right away. Probably they'll be aware of him enough to try to keep him like out of a top seeded guy in the first round. But this guy could be anywhere. Juke Correa, this guy's a national prep champ. He's ranked 5th in the country, just a freshman, but he is outstanding. He's looked really, really good all year long and just didn't place at the right events to get the separation criteria. But make no mistake about it, he can win the whole thing.
Really? Yeah, man, it's really interesting. Like, looking at this bracket, how we have it laid out, but then also knowing it could look completely different.
Yes.
The matchups starting from the round of 16 with our 4 names in the black box over there just makes this weight like really, really intriguing. And then on top of that, the winner, it makes the world team and goes to world championships. So let's talk through it a little bit. We'll start who we have as the number 1 seed at the top. Who many I think would kind of put Gabe Arnold as the favorite, right? That's not too presumptuous. And then we have him. He's not going to wrestle all 4 of these guys at once.
That would make it tough.
But here's the question, David. Who out of this group of 4, maybe 1 or 2 guys that you look at as like, man, this guy is really, really dangerous. Maybe watch him as a landmine early on.
Yeah, I mean, Rademacher and Michelson both, I think, fall into that category. One of the things that makes a potential matchup between Gabe Arnold and all these guys really interesting is that Arnold's coming up from 170, where he's currently ranked. He's number 4 in the country. These guys are bigger, right? These are guys that are becoming down in weight, so that size could be a factor. And that something to pay attention to is that these are, for the most part, like bigger dudes that could all cause problems. Regardless of all that, Arnold will be the favorite against any of these guys. But you can see, like these are all Fargo placers that he could have in his path that could make life a little bit challenging for him early on. Yeah,
and it's amazing to think about it. Like, he could catch one of these guys even in whatever earlier rounds or however the bracket is drawn up. But it's like, man, this could be a Fargo final. Right, with Arnold and one of these guys. This could be a Fargo semifinal, and we could see it in the quarterfinals here. But I think, regardless, Arnold's probably the favorite, right, to make the semis. I think that's kind of the safe pick, right?
Yes, that's a safe pick for sure.
All right, let's move on down to our other quarter. My little carrot's not working for me there, so I'm gonna have to.
I'm gonna use my carrot and see what happens.
Can you reset it? Look at that. You can reset it there. All right, so we got Lamer and Mirasola. Oregon, Wisconsin matchup. Now you're telling me before kind of what's interesting about this matchup. Kind of goes back a little bit deeper.
We have
right?
2 Askren Wrestling Academy guys in this bracket, Connor Mirasola and then Aiden Sinclair over here. And actually, if this is how the bracket plays out, it'll be interesting because Mirasola last year took a loss that I don't think he was playing. I think he was surprised by the loss to Luke Venadia, who we have matching up with Sinclair. And Sinclair actually at Fargo down at 160 last year lost to Dashiell Lamer. That's why Lamer is criteria number 2 and Sinclair is criteria number 5. So they could try to avenge a loss for their teammates, all in the hopes of battling it out for the world team spot in the finals. You never know. But this match would be really interesting. Dashiell Lamer has been ranked at 160, coming up in weight, and so this weight class is about 176. Connor Mirasola has been at 182 for a while. He'll be dropping down. I think that the size, and I mean, both these guys are very skilled, but I think the size advantage, and I think Mirasola's maybe got a little bit more goods in freestyle. I think Mirasola is the favorite for me in this one.
All right. So you got Arnold and Mirasola meeting in the semis. Let's rock it over to the other side here. Let's see if I can reset that. Look at that. That worked that time. All right. So Zach Ryder, he's coming up in weight against Jared Schaap. Tell me about this matchup a little bit as well.
Yeah, Zach Ryder was a Fargo champ at 152 last summer. He's been wrestling at 160 like Dashiell Lamer, and he is all the way up at 80 kilos. It means that probably that 71 kilos, that 150, whatever that is too much to make.
Almost 25 pounds he's coming up since last year.
Yeah, so he is going to be really interesting. He was not much of a freestyle guy last year until Fargo, and then he went and won the whole thing. So he's come a long way in freestyle and really tough. Just a sophomore, he's young. Size is going to be interesting to follow with Zach Ryder. He usually uses strength as a major advantage. Coming up in weight, I don't know if it'll be the advantage that it typically is for him. Jared Schaap, really tough. This is a New Jersey State finalist this year and a guy that's placed in Fargo as well. He's really, really good. He's got, he beat Rademacher last year. He's tough, but even though Ryder has given up the size, I think he's got a little bit more skill, but I really don't feel great about it. This is a New York, New Jersey battle, and I could very easily see Jared Schaap getting the win here, but I'm gonna lean Zach Ryder for the sake of argument.
All right, we'll lean with Ryder. I'll ride with you here. I'll stick with Ryder here over Schaap, and then that'll bring us down to our last quarterfinal matchup: Aiden Sinclair, Luke Venadia?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Talk us through this matchup? How do you see this playing out?
This is like we talked about this earlier. Sinclair has the opportunity potentially to avenge Mirasola's loss to Venadia from last year at Fargo. Venadia, Fargo finalist, really tough. Aiden Sinclair he's so good. He's a guy that he was 160 over the summer. He's come up in weight to 182. Doesn't cut a lot of weight. Focuses on wrestling skill development, and he's a guy. I don't know if it's going to be this week at this event, but he's a guy that feels like he's due for a really big breakout performance, and I think that we're going to see him get the win over Venadia if that match happens. I think Venadia very easily could prove me wrong, but Aiden Sinclair he's so good in so many positions, and he's one of those guys that seems like he really, really loves wrestling and wrestling development and learning new things and adding to his skill set. So for those reasons, I'm leaning Aiden Sinclair in this one. Yeah,
I'm gonna roll with you as well. If you weren't gonna make that pick, I watched a little bit of both of their film, and it really like Sinclair as a prospect, really like him, and I'm really excited to watch him in person in this bracket. I think pretty highly of Sinclair. So that brings us to our semifinal matchups here. We got potentially Zach Ryder, Aiden Sinclair, Gabe Arnold, Connor Mirasola, Georgia, Wisconsin, York, Wisconsin. All right, let's talk about Arnold Mirasola first. How do you see this matchup playing out if we see it happen?
So there are 2 versions of Gabe Arnold. There's one where he's maybe a little bit more reserved, where he keeps it to close matches. Fargo final last year was kind of one position, right? So that happens from time to time. I don't think that's the kind of match that Gabe Arnold wants here. I think Gabe Arnold's footwork and some of his scrambling ability give him the advantage. The more wrestling positions these guys get in, Gabe Arnold is somebody that in the scrambles can move really, really well. He can also wrestle from open. So the more this gets mixed up, I think the more it favors Gabe Arnold. That being said, Connor Mirasola can scramble really, really well. Also, he's got a ton of freestyle savvy.
Yeah.
This is a really fun match. The other thing is Mirasola is bigger.
I was just going to say, do you see size coming in?
It's going to matter.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to matter for sure. Arnold he's not a guy that you see get overpowered very often. When he loses matches, a lot of times it's because it was in the margins and it was, it was one position late. It was something like that. So if it's a really close match, then I think that's what Mirasola wants. If it's one where they're in there mixing it up, that probably favors Gabe Arnold. I think it's going to be Gabe Arnold this time, but it could go either way. It's going to be really fun.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna roll with Gabe Arnold as well. I think his offense, his variety of ways to score, I think it will be the difference maker here. But like you said, it'll be within the margins. I think it'll be a match that's decided maybe by a takedown or two, something like that. So all right, moving on to the other side, Zach Ryder, Aiden Sinclair. I kind of showed my hand a little bit in here in just what I think of Sinclair, and then especially in freestyle, like you mentioned, Ryder. We hadn't seen him that much. I mean, although he did go out and win Fargo, right? But I think from what I watched, Sinclair a little bit more ways to score, and just more comfortable in more positions than Ryder. That's just my opinion.
I agree with that assessment. The other thing is, Sinclair's been at this weight. He's bigger. He's used to this. Zach Ryder is just now coming up to this weight class. So I think that this is a weight. I think this is a match that favors Sinclair for a number of different reasons. It's just it feels like Zach Ryder is coming into Aiden Sinclair's turf in a lot of different ways, in freestyle, in the weight class, and for that reason, I think it's Sinclair. All
right. So let's talk about our potential final here. We got Aiden Sinclair, Wisconsin, Gabe Arnold, Georgia. How do you see this match playing out if we see it? This is for the world team spot, right?
Yeah.
This is for the right to represent USA at the World Championships. What do you think of this matchup?
I think this matchup is incredible. I think if these guys both let it fly, we're going to see wrestling positions that we don't very often see, period, in the U.S., and that we definitely don't see very often at 17U.
Yeah.
These guys are both, I mean, they're obsessed with learning more about wrestling, with new positions, with just kind of development as a whole, and man, these guys are junkies when it comes to international technique and those kinds of things. So I think there's going to be a million great exchanges. It's going to be super fun. I mean, Gabe Arnold has accomplished more at this point. He's won more matches in these big moments, and so I think I'm going to lean Arnold, but it's a match I don't know exactly what it'll look like. I think Aiden Sinclair could win it, but I'm leaning Arnold just for the fact that he has gotten it done on these kinds of moments in the past more often than Sinclair.
Yeah. We talked about this a little bit in our 55 kg video. For me, it's like you try to predict how a bracket like this is going to play out. It's like, man, how do you do it? But then you fall back on, okay, who's the favorite?
Yeah.
Who's the guy where it's like, you wrestle this bracket however many times, he's the one who's going to come out on top. And so that's how I feel, about this pick, where it's like, man, I just feel the most confident in Gabe Arnold on the big stage, kind of what you've seen him do. So for that reason, Gabe Arnold's my pick. Can't wait to see Aiden Sinclair at the trials. But then we got to bring back, your boogeyman in this way. You got Jude Correa in here as well.
I mean, look, don't be surprised if the final is Gabe Arnold, Jude Correa. Correa and Arnold are teammates. So these guys are scrapping in the Wyoming seminary room all the time. And if this match happens, we're going to get a glimpse of what that looks like, what the teammates and coaches get to see at Wyoming Sim. Yeah, absolute boogeyman, Jude Correa, and can't wait to find out what happens. Can't wait to see what the bracket looks like.
Yeah.
We're going to have incredible matches from the round of 16 on, and you're going to have to watch it. I can't wait, and we'll be following it every step of the way.